speaking on behalf of myself and James Bailey, who's the owner of the building, my landlord there. And so I don't know if you guys have ever come and sat in that specific parking lot at anywhere between 4:30 and 7:30 or 8 at night. I am pro-growth. I am pro-business as a business owner in this town. Thank you for all you do to help create that. As a former resident of Northwood Lake also, if you've ever sat in our parking lot, which most people don't even realize that Resource Lane is Resource Lane. Most of them just think it's Tiger Rock and Bamatan's parking lot. But if you ever sit there between the hours of 4:30 and 8:30, it is packed jam full of customers. Thank God for that. But the reality is, and in the Planning Zone Committee, that's already been addressed, that hopefully you guys will listen to that. I actually pointed out that I would love the opportunity, and Brock has not reached out to me since that conversation. And I just said I would love to sit down and talk to him because he says he would do this, that, or the other, crosswalk, whatever. The road's not very big. Our parking lot literally backs out onto the road. You have to pull into the parking lot in front of the building. We have a relationship with what used to be the County Baptist Association, which is now Save a Life, that's there across the street. We utilize their parking lot. We help resurface their parking lot just so we can have more parking. But it is a concern of myself, obviously as a business owner. It's a concern of our members, that now is going to become a thoroughfare road. We knew all along that could happen, that property, we didn't know in 2014 it had been sold. We knew there was plans to develop it. We would have loved, I'm sorry, Brock, for it to have been a single family unit home. I don't know what happened in the past, and we can't necessarily go back and fix all of that. But to have 103 parking places and all those cars coming through, I'm not as concerned 6:30 a.m. till 4 p.m., but for the rush hour time frame, which is also when Highway 69 is the busiest. I would just encourage you, before you make a decision, come sit in the parking lot and see what the people living there are going to have to go through, and the concern of safety for our members. And I'll just close with this. As a Christian, as a person who wants to live by the law of what my Lord has laid out for me, some things are legal, but they're not wise. And I would just say, as I try to train my 15 or 16-year-old son in driving, there's things he can do that are legal, but that aren't wise. I would just plead with you guys also. Obviously, he's followed everything he needs to follow. It was zoned a certain way, but listening to everyone here, I don't believe it's wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. We do appreciate everything that your company does for all of the kids here, not only in Northport, but in Tuscaloosa County as well. I know that's a very successful program, and one that's very well known. As you talk about the parking spaces, I know how they are there on Resource Drive and how they're done. I think that is poor planning from many years ago from the city and the development of that property. So can't go back and reinvent the wheel now, but there should have been some foresight to see that there could be some development past Resource Lane as well. But I do understand your concern. So thank you very much for being here. We have addressed safety issues regarding Highway 69, Resource Drive. We've addressed connectivity. We've addressed wildlife. We've addressed flood, and we've addressed dam. Is there anyone else that has anything else? And I also want to say, Mr. Quarter, should the council decide that this project is worthwhile and goes through, I would really like to foster a relationship between you and Mr. Holt with Tiger Rock to make sure, as you stated earlier, that you would be willing to do something if granted the approval, to make sure that these kids are taken care of, because everyone up here I know is going to really hound in on the safety of our children. So a parking deck. Okay. With that being said, is there anything else? Hi.
Yes.
If you will, write your name down, your address, and state your name and address for the record.
Jana Morrison, and I live in Clear Lake Street.
Okay. What's the address?
1801 Clear
Okay.
Lake Street.
Got it.
Okay, I'm going to go quickly. Got a lot to cover. First, I'd like to understand why is this proposal still being presented as conditional use approval? My understanding is that these are only needed if variances are requested or property is not being used in the manner it is zoned. So we ask that this be changed before approved. Secondly, I request that the council hold Mr. Corder accountable to provide at minimum the 10-foot distance between his structures and the property lines we all share. The same applies to all other property owners, and I also have spoken with Pinnacle Park adjacent neighbors who have told me they were not for it, and they still are not for it. So I just wanted to go on the record with that. Thirdly, I'd like to ask that council requires Mr. Corder to plan for, install, and maintain an 8-foot aesthetically pleasing to both of us privacy fence to deter items and people from coming over onto my property. 6 foot is too easily navigated, and I request that it run the length of our border and be maintained by the developer or his representative. The maintenance is never to fall to any of the neighboring property owners. We also ask that the City Council enforce that the installed emergency gate is one in nature that prevents foot traffic as well as vehicular traffic and forevermore is only used as an emergency lane when entering, exiting the proposed townhomes. It will not be open for purposes other than emergency vehicles if you don't change that we're having an emergency access and reasonable needs of repair. I would also like to ask Mr. Corder, City Council, to make clear all who will manage and guarantee, those who we can hold accountable, to adhere to these items discussed regarding this proposal. An HOA is not a good enough answer. We all know those can dissolve. We also respectfully ask the council to request of the builder to have formal environmental impact study conducted for the final review plan for the following reasons, and an EIS, not an EA. The EIS will inform all about the built environment and how we can comply with federal law and the EPA Water Act. 1/3 of Twin Lake residents have conducted extensive home foundation repairs, some in excess of $40,000. We consulted 2 sources, including one retired from the local company that the applicant has indicated, citing the 2014 delineation study, and they both told us that is federal and out of date, that it is out of date that long, citing federal standards. Also, a local geologist proposed the site consisted of unstable foundation. This includes joint clay, Pottsville formation, and other deposits susceptible to erosion and sinkholes. And I don't think I have to go further about sinkholes in the city. Also, lastly, I'd like to refer to you back to the original plat of the Twin Lakes established in 1956, specifically the sliver of land y'all heard me say a bunch last time. The intent of the subdivision, and more importantly of Clear Lake Street and its dam housed in that plot 18, was not to connect to additional traffic or developments at this location. The developers knew then it was not prudent, and it is my belief that they were protecting the integrity of the street, the lakes, the dams with that sliver parcel. One final thought, developers are supposed to leave the land and community better than they found it, and in this instance, we believe that is definitely not the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. Some of the issues that you had discussed, I don't think some of those are going to be city functions with what the city council can legally do. Is there a member of staff that would like to address any of those regarding the maybe Ms. Ram with the buffer, or city administrator or legal with the conditional use? I know the conditional use is because of the zone and how it is stated legally.
As far as the buffer, it's not required, but it is something that if the council felt would make the development less adversely affect the surrounding neighborhoods, you could require that as part of the conditional use. The conditional use itself in section 100301 is the section where you find that performance residential uses, which this is a performance residential
Right.
use, requires the conditional use approval.
Okay. All right, and then in the essence of time, we have been on this agenda item for a while now, a lot longer than I imagined. So we will now go to 1 minute, 1 minute on comments or concerns, because we've already heard through numerous items such as the dam, flooding, wildlife connectivity, Safety Highway 69, Safety Resource Drive, and then as Ms. Morrison had regarding conditional use, fencing, emergency gate, buffers, et cetera. So if there's anybody that has anything else besides those, we will start with the 1 minute time limit in the essence of time for everyone. Please come to the podium, and if you'll write your name and address down.
I'll do that at the end since I have 1 minute. Okay.
I will. You'll do. I couldn't
I'll
hear
write
you.
it at the end.
You'll write it at the end.
Yes,
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
State
Good
your name and
evening,
address for the record, please.
Thank you for having us and opening this to the public. My name is Ann Hewitt. I live at 10691 South Davis Road in Cottondale. I am not a Northport resident, but I am the chairperson of the local West Alabama Sierra Club and have come to talk about the wetlands.
We've already discussed the wetlands this evening.
Not as opposed. He discussed it for. My only comment, and it'll be 30 seconds,
Yes,
is
ma'am. So
when
this is
you
not
think about-
not in regards to the flooding. This is just completely wetlands.
No. This is
Okay,
not
gotcha.
the flooding. No.
Okay.
When you say .02 acres, I want you to visualize that. That is 871.2 square feet. So it's a large amount. And when you interfere or disrupt any part of a wetlands, you disrupt basically all of the wetlands. And that's the important thing. The wildlife and all that's habitats that she has mentioned, the endangered species, all of that. When you do 871.2 feet, you can do some very, very bad damage to our environment. And as a Sierra Club, we want everyone to enjoy, explore, and protect our beautiful city of Northport and our state of Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tubbs, do you have anything that you'd like to add in regards to wetlands or?
No, nothing more than what Mr. Corder has already said. He will be required to mitigate any wetlands that is disturbed, but that is not something that the city of Northport handles.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So we have heard in opposition concerns of wetlands, dam, flood, wildlife, connectivity, safety, Highway 69 Resource Drive, and then in regards to conditional use, fencing, emergency gates, et cetera. So is there anything else that is a concern to any resident here? Yes, sir. If you will, please come and write your name and address down, and then also state your name and address for the record. I will remind you that in essence of time, we have limited the public hearing speaking to 1 minute per individual at this point.
What I want to mention,
Yes, sir.
gentlemen, this hadn't been brought up.
Can you state your name and address for the
Mike
record?
Olson, 4503 Twin Lakes Court. I live right there on the corner between the small lake and Clear Lake Street.
Yes, sir.
This property, when the builders, developers back in the 50s, developed Northwood Lake, Twin Lakes, and then a few years later when they developed the other side of the highway, it was a reason why these developers left that alone, because they had sense enough to realize that that was bad ground. You got bad clay and sand. I have spent over $40,000 since I've lived in my house, 42 years, to upgrade my foundation because it was falling. In this same area, they're going to have the same problem. It's going to start cracking. The wall's going to start shifting, and somebody's going to be sued. And then my only other question is, I want to know how much money that the developer paid for this property. I think it's a reasonable question to ask the developer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The council has no knowledge of what was paid for. Yes, sir. That is something that you can contact the developer on your personal time. The city council does not know anything about deals that have been made in regards to property acquisition. We have 9 concerns that have taken place so far. The dam, the flood, wildlife, connectivity, safety, Highway 69, Resource Drive, conditional use, fencing, emergency gate, wetlands, and then now we have bad soil, and also the developer's personal finances. Okay. How you doing?
An EIS study.
What was that? Gotcha. Okay, if you will, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jason Sellos, live at 5314 Lake Rose Drive in Northwood Lakes.
Yes, sir.
I come here tonight to talk to you guys about integrity. And the reason why I mentioned that is because as I'm listening, like whenever I first came aware of the situation and kind of potential, you know, I approached it with a unbiased view. I approached it to kind of see what the potential is. I know we need housing in Northport. I'm for that. This location to me doesn't seem strategic. The integrity comes into play because some of the things that I've witnessed here tonight. And what I mean by that is that what I am hearing are citizens bringing up concerns, bringing up legitimate, valid, intellectual arguments. And what I am seeing is marginalization, and potentially it's viewed as potential to silence. Whenever you threaten to close roads from citizens bringing up disagreements or oppositions.
I don't think that was threatening anything if the roads are
The
bad.
situation, the situation is the roads right now are a low risk down. Whenever you make your decision to approve this, it changes that, and that becomes a liability on you at that point.
I don't, from
And
what
we
we've
may
heard,
disagree
that's
with
not
that.
correct.
We may disagree with that, but the way that I look at it is that is a downstream of your decision. Because right now, it's low risk, and it goes into the floodplain. But whenever you're threatening to close roads,
No one threatened to close a road. That was just a concern. And sir, your time is up. Thank you very much.
points made.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to discuss?
Yes.
Hi, can you write your name and address?
Yes. My name is Ellen Pledger. I live at 4712 Oneida Avenue. My family came to Northwood Lake in 1974.
Oh, wow.
I grew up here. And I've been very proud of the city of Northport. One thing I want us to guard against, and please forgive me, I don't know who you are, but I don't want to be Tuscaloosa. If I wanted to be Tuscaloosa, I would move to Tuscaloosa. I don't want a bunch of apartments. I like the seclusion of Northwood Lake. If you take away all our little areas around and you pave everything, we will look the way the Highlands looks now in Tuscaloosa. The Highlands was a beautiful place, and that awful tornado came and took all the trees away. Have you driven through there with everything gone? It's just some houses, and they aren't even that pretty without all of their beauty secluding them. I don't want to be Tuscaloosa. I like Northport. I know we're all like, progress, progress. We're afraid of that word. Well, I don't want progress. If progress means building stuff in every ditch we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Most people like progress until it affects them directly, so.
I know. It's awful to say you don't want progress.
I understand your concern.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Before we close out, is there anyone else? We'll take one more.
I'm not trying to talk again. I just wanted to add a quick clarification to the road thing, connecting to Clear Lake. From November 12th, 2013, this council's own meeting notes, Chairman Higginbotham said that the expressed concerns about the conditions of the roads, and they would need to be addressed by the city's engineering department. That was back in 2013, and it was never done. That's the only thing I wanted to add.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Kay Holden, 3010 Natchez Landing. Okay, got one thing you haven't spoke about yet. It's the underground stormwater drainage system. Ms. Tubbs and Ms. Webb are very well versed in this subject because the city of Tuscaloosa right now is having to maintain over 60 of the detention ponds, and they're needing maintenance. This was back in 2020 in the Tuscaloosa News, and it cited that there was approximately $4 million it was going to cost the city to restore. They have either been abandoned or the HOAs were dissolved. Therefore, the body that was supposed to take care of these ponds were not there, so they fell to the city. I don't know how many detention ponds are in Northport. I don't know how many we're going to have with all these new developments, but this is going to cost the city money because once these HOAs come in, if the HOAs do not collect enough, they don't have full vacancy, they're going to have to go ahead and fall back to the city for maintenance. From what I understand, a detention pond is approximately $30,000 to $40,000 at least every other year. Time's up. Thank you.
I'll let you continue. You have some good points. So.
Okay. Well, I was flying through it.
I know.
Because give me a minute. Okay. So with that, again, you have to understand. You know, my background's HOA. You can't get 50% of what you assess. It is known fact that 50% is considered a good receipt. So we're talking $30,000 to $40,000 every other year, and I can let Ms. Webb or Ms. Tubbs chime in. They were going to create a program for Tuscaloosa to address this type of issue, but you have to understand there's maintenance with that. These people are already going to be hit with grounds, probably insurance, because you have to have insurance liability on your insurance, and now you're putting in an a detention pond. They're probably going to pay $1,000 a year. Okay, is this affordable housing that you're providing? Are the people that live in that going to be able to pay $1,000 years to play pickleball? To have a detention pond?
Yeah, don't know.
Don't know. So that, and then the other item I had was we are requesting a traffic light study. We know the city has to request the traffic light study because it is Resource Drive going on to 69. We're asking that you go ahead and put the burden of the cost on the builder because from what I understand, ALDOT has to do the study by request of the city.
Okay. Is there staff, Ms. Webb, Ms. Tubbs, do y'all have anything you want to add in regards to underground storm water drainage or traffic light studies or anything that the city could?
Mm-hmm. So the traffic study, that is ALDOT. We would not have any jurisdiction over that, and they would have to make recommendations. You're correct in that. If they could require it, then it would be at the developer's expense, but there again, that's going to be an ALDOT requirement. If I understood correctly, Brock, did you say you're going to do underground detention? Okay, so he's speaking to do underground detention, not a detention pond, so there is a difference there.
But does it require maintenance?
Yes.
And what kind of maintenance? Do y'all have a cost?
That would be something the developer and the HOA would be responsible for.
Okay, so that not a city function on that. Okay.
It could fall back to the city if you don't get full vacancy. If you have an HOA that can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've heard from a lot of different people there. There is a ton of information for everyone to digest, and I think there's been some good talk in regards to what's going on here. And I think from what I'm hearing is we have a developer that's willing to work with people that want to work, and I think we have people that don't want to work, and that's fine too because. Like the lady said earlier, she's not for progress, and it's not for everybody. So, with that said, is there anyone else? I don't want to leave anyone out, but I know for the essence of time, we do need to close this public hearing and proceed on with our regular agenda. Okay, we're going to allow one more person to speak if there's something that's different concern that we've not already heard from. I do not want to make sure that everyone gets their chance to discuss, and we can make sure.
I'll be real quick with it. My name is Derek Dunn, 2508 Shoal Place. I actually spoke at this meeting back in the summer about all the issues with the erosion and the water push down and everything else. My biggest concern with this is as development continues upstream. I mentioned before that most every bit of this watershed run through comes down through this area. Just in our neighborhood alone, we're running into all kinds of issues of erosion that comes downstream, and that's from future development that's happened since, over time. And, those issues are not being mitigated. So, not blaming you guys, it's happened over a course of time, but, there's outstanding issues that need to be addressed before, allowing more problems to happen. So I just want to bring that back up because that's, as we all saw back in the summer, has been a huge problem.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the floor to the public hearing.
Honorable Jeff Hogg, can we ask for just one more?
I've already closed it. I'm sorry. The gavel's already been hit. I apologize. The floor has been closed. Mayor, I know you have been very quiet over there. I would like to, before we move into some type of form of a motion, I'd like to ask, is there anything that you would like to say in regards to this development, or are you just like the rest of us and soaking everything in?
I would like to ask one important question.
We've already closed the public hearing, sir. I'm sorry. Sir, I'm sorry. We've already closed the public hearing. Mayor, would you like to say anything?
Well, I always like to talk, but I appreciate everybody coming out and putting in their input, and don't think that it's not being heard. A lot of things that need to be addressed, as you brought out. I just hope the council has done their homework, that they have taken everybody's opinion, the information that you gathered, and take it into effect and make what they think is the best decision for the city and for its citizens. Sometimes it gets a little trying up here. It's not a piece of cake being a council person or the mayor, because we try to take into consideration everybody, every aspect, every bit of information. And so the council is going to make a vote, and we'll just see what has been laid on their hearts of which way to vote. If it does pass, this is not a building permit. If this thing does pass, it means they have the right to submit plans. That's what it means. If it does pass and the plans get reviewed and the plans aren't up to snuff, that brings up a whole other thing. But I appreciate all the information that you guys have brought and your passion, and let's just see how it goes.
Thank you, Mayor. One question I did want to ask the developer just before we go into, you don't have to stand up, Mr. Quarter. One lady mentioned a buffer. I know you had stated earlier about you'd be willing to no connectivity or having connectivity or having a gate. You were willing to look at all different kinds of aspects on that. You were willing to look at safety in regards to, around Tiger Rock Resource Drive for the pedestrians there. What about the buffer? Is that something that you will have on the backside of Clear Lake, or that's just something you didn't address? And I wanted to make sure that everybody's needs were heard. So.
It's the first I've heard of any buffer outside of what's required under the ordinance. If there is something that is required of us to do from a buffer standpoint that is not on our plans, then certainly we want to provide any buffer that we're required to provide. But outside of that, if it's residential to residential and there's no other buffer requirement, we would request to just abide by the regulations as they're written.
That's right. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that she was heard. So, and. Well,
he brought up Pinnacle Park 2 or 3 meetings, and I went out there personally and measured that.
We've already closed the public hearing, and I personally called on him for a question for my clarification. Well, considering the way you asked it, it wasn't how I asked And while I understand each and every one of the concerns that have been presented here tonight, I still find myself seeing most of these concerns as either lack of planning from previous administrations in Northport, or some that are not even city functions at all. And to me, this affirms the right decision was made a few months ago to set aside money to provide a master plan for the city which will address our zoning and future growth. Until that time, we have an obligation to uphold the zonings and city ordinances that are on the books currently. Mr. Recorder's development meets the zoning in our current city ordinances. And I don't understand what's the purpose of having zoning and ordinances if we're not going to abide by them. I do want to ask, how many of you here believe in the Bible? Just a simple question. The Bible. Okay. I just want to say this particular Bible here, this was presented to me on November 2nd, 2020 as part of my swearing-in ceremony. Each of the council members received one, and each of the council members raised their right hands and placed their left hand on the Bible. And do you know what they said? They didn't say, "I solemnly swear to play politics." They didn't say, "I solemnly swear to worrying about votes for next election." They didn't say, "I solemnly swear to vote based on emotions." They didn't say, "I solemnly swear to cave at political pressure." But do you know what they did say while they were swearing on God's holy book? They said, "I," their name, "do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Alabama, and that I will observe the provisions of the ordinances of the City of Northport, and that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of office of council member to the best of my ability, so help me God." And I don't know about you, some of you, but I take this book very serious. I take this position very serious. And I took my oath of office very serious. And when I put my hand on this Bible and swore, as you just heard, to observe the provisions of the ordinances of the City of Northport, I meant it. And following our zoning and city ordinances are what we all swore we would do on the Bible. As in the Bible, right here, under the book of Numbers, chapter 30, verse 2, it states, "If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swears an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth." And in the New International Version, this translates to, "When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, he must not break his word, but must do everything he said." I have been called many things and many names in my lifetime, but liar is not one of them. And I will not knowingly shame the Lord because of political pressure. With that being said, I don't see how legally this can be denied. The developer has every right to build based on our current city ordinances that we are supposed to follow. I don't see how I or anyone else up here can go against our oath of office. I don't see how I can go against placing my hand on the Bible and vowing to the Lord. But before anyone gets upset, there's always some middle ground as set forth by the zoning conditional use section 1003-02, which states that the city council shall establish the specific conditions under which the application is approved. By doing the right thing, by following our city code, I feel that we can all come to an agreement based on adding specific conditions to this request and meet in the middle in regards to the concerns that you've heard tonight. So I will make a motion to approve the residential development consisting of approximately 5.42 acres located south of Clear Lake Street and west of Resource Lane, but with trying to find some middle ground for everyone involved, that we add the conditions that there be no connectivity to Clear Lake Street or Northwood Lake, which this will mitigate Northwood Lake residents' concerns. We require the developer to add a pedestrian crosswalk for the safety of the children taking lessons at Tiger Rock, and that we require all units to be sprinklered. And that is in the form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Councilwoman Bobo.
I would just like to say I have struggled with a decision. I think it was Mr. Holt who pointed out that some things are legal but not wise. And this is something that I, too, have been praying about for months now, for weeks, definitely for months, too. And I just remember my 10th grade Southern Lit teacher having a poster in our classroom that said, what's popular is not always right, and what's right is not always popular. And I think, as my constituents know, I ran for Northport City Council on a platform of rational, conservative government that was designed to enhance the inherent opportunities that our city provides for business and for residential growth. And with these principles in mind, our mayor and co-council members and we've all joined together in pursuing a master plan to ensure uniform, uninterrupted prosperity for our city. And as such, we have secured funding and commissioned that work to begin for this master plan. So this plan is going to provide us with a stable blueprint that, along with our codes, will encourage the forms of investment in our community that will ultimately benefit generations to come. With that in mind, I neither consider it to be conservative nor rational to deny a developer the ability to develop his or her property when that developer purchased that property with the intent to develop and verified that the land was acceptable per our city code before making that purchase. To deny that developer creates a dangerously uncertain atmosphere that not only invites corruption, but also sends a corrupt message that the rule of law can be ignored in Northport when it serves certain interests. Accordingly, I'm not only morally and ethically compelled to vote in favor of allowing the development of the townhomes in Clear Lake to proceed, but also my commitment to rational, conservative leadership demands it. I know that we've had some people who have told us that we have blood on our hands, that we're murderers for allowing or thinking to allow a development. But I'm reminded of Leviticus 19:15 that tells us to be careful not to pervert justice and instructs us that we are called to be fair. And out of fairness and with respect to our current code, my vote is yes.
Councilman Washington.
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton.
Comments. I remind the council that the Planning and Zoning Commission sent this to us with an unfavorable recommendation. I suppose we have this committee to guide us and advise us as what we should do because they've checked into things like this earlier. So I vote no for a number of reasons. The most prominent are the apparent public safety issues at Resource Lane and Highway 69 created by the development. Infringement on the wetlands, just beyond the planned development, possibly affecting the habitat and causing the loss of wildlife, and possibly completely changing the wetlands. Should the access road extend to Clear Lake Street for emergency use, traffic, particularly fire trucks and so forth, this could negatively affect the Twin Lake dams. Both dams are narrow and appear fragile, and I drive them every day. I was told one lake overflowed, and I understand maybe both did, during the flood a few months ago. After the flood, the dam on the lake closest to Highway 69 was bolstered by rock placed because I'm assuming it was concerned, there was concern about it breaking. These are the reasons that I give as some of my reasons for voting no.
Councilwoman Dykes.
Well, I'm of the mindset Dr. Hinton is. This came as an unfavorable recommendation to us from Planning and Zoning. I have grave concerns about the traffic issues on Resource Lane. Those children, that's just something that I don't even want to think about, but that is a huge concern, the traffic issues. And one of another great concern of mine, as is Dr. Hinton's, is the safety of that dam, and potential issues that arise from that. Given that information, I am voting no.
President Hogg.
Yes. Seven A5 is a second reading of an ordinance granting an exclusive ambulance franchise to North Star Paramedic Services Incorporated in the city of Northport. Mr. Davis.
Yes, Mr. President. The city of Tuscaloosa, city of Northport, and Tuscaloosa County have gone together and jointly asked for a recommendation and request for proposals from different ambulance
I'm so sorry to interrupt,
companies.
but could you please start over? I can't hear you.
Okay.
It's gotten a little loud in the lobby. Mr. Davis, could you
Sure, let me
restart?
start
I'm
over.
so sorry.
Wait a
That's
minute.
fine.
Let the police have the opportunity to. Chief, is everything okay? Okay.
No, nothing is okay.
Mr. Mr. Davis.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Northport, the city of Tuscaloosa, Tuscaloosa County went together to look for an exclusive ambulance franchise. Request proposals were drafted by experts and sent out, and the conclusion was the best proposal was from North Star Paramedic Services Incorporated, and it is a recommendation that this be passed by the council. I would recommend that, or would note that the city of Tuscaloosa, Tuscaloosa County have already agreed to this as well.
And they've already passed their.
Yes, sir. They've
Okay.
passed that. We would be the third one joining in with this same exclusive franchise agreements.
Yes, sir. Is there a member of council that would like to move to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
That's a motion by Councilwoman Bobo, second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Councilwoman Bobo.
Yes.
Councilman Washington.
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dykes.
Yes.
President Hogg.
Yes. 8A1 is the first reading of a conditional use approval to allow vehicle sales, custom golf carts, in a C3 zone located at 4549 Robert Cardinal Airport. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. This does come with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission, and it also includes accessories that are incidental to golf cart sales. There will be a second reading and a public hearing held on February 7th.
Okay, I'll offer that for a first reading. 8A2 is the first reading of an ordinance amending section 74-237 of Chapter 74, Utilities, Article 5 of the Municipal Code pertaining to service areas outside the city limits. Mr. Davis.
Yes, Mr. President. In the past, the code has required for the city to provide water services outside the city limits, that there be a unanimous vote to do so by the city council. Since that went into effect, we've acquired Sand Springs Water Authority, so a lot of our customers are outside the city limits. This code amendment basically does what we have been doing in the past, one by implication, which is requiring anyone connecting outside the city to pay all of the expenses, and so that's being spelled out specifically. And also we're adding a new provision that would require anyone that connects to city water in the future, if they become adjacent and could annex into the city, that they be required to do so. So that's ready for a first reading.
Okay, I'll offer that for a first reading. 8B1 is a resolution authorizing water service outside the city limits, so sort of in conjunction with that.
That was the catalyst for the code clarification and addition, and this resolution, again, will have to be passed unanimously tonight for this individual. He is not, he does not live where he can annex now, but in the resolution, it will require him to do so, and also require him to pay all costs, and the city would not be required to pay any of the costs to have him connect.
Okay, so he's required to pay all costs, and also if at any time his property becomes contiguous with the city, he has to annex in.
Yes,
is what
sir.
you're saying. Okay. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bobo. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Councilwoman Bobo?
Yes.
Councilman Washington?
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dykes?
Yes.
President Hogg?
Yes. AB2 is resolution authorizing an agreement with AlDOT for Charlie Shirley Road resurfacing project. Ms. Tubbs.
Yes, sir. Council has already approved this resolution. AlDOT has asked for us to put it in their format, so we're bringing it back to you.
Okay.
So moved.
Yeah. All right. That's
that, Mr. Hogg.
I got that. That's a motion by Councilwoman Dykes. That is a second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? I hope not, because Ms. Dykes is on the ball tonight. All right. With that being said, Ms. Webb, call roll, please.
Councilwoman Bobo?
Yes.
Councilman Washington?
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dykes?
Yes.
President Hogg?
Yes. 8B4 is resolution, 8B3 is a resolution authorizing an agreement with AlDOT for Watermelon Road resurfacing project. Ms. Tubbs.
Move.
Enough said.
Ms. Tubbs, you can sit down now. All right, that's a motion by Councilman Hinton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bobo. I'm sure there's not going to be any questions or comments, or you'll have to talk with Mr. Hinton about that. So, Ms. Webb, call roll, please.
Councilwoman Bobo?
Yes.
Councilman Washington?
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dykes?
Yes.
President Hogg?
Yes. Okay. Now, 8B4 is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute a right-of-way permit to William H. Boyd. Mr. Davis.
Yes, Mr. President, this is good news. As you know, quite a bit of development has been going on south of downtown with the improvements going down Main and around to First Street. If you go down Bridge Avenue toward Dreamland, across the street is Billy Boyd's property, and it's vacant right now. It used to have a boat on it and a boat shed, but he's going to build an office there, and he needs to use part of our right-of-way. This would allow him to do so for his parking. At any time we need our right-of-way back, he agrees to give it back to us at his expense. So
Okay.
this is for approval tonight if you see fit.
Sounds like we're cleaning up that area very well. All right. Is there a member of council that would like to adopt this resolution?
So moved. Oh, whoops. Move to adopt the resolution.
That is a motion by Councilwoman Bobo. That is a second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Councilwoman Bobo?
Yes.
Councilman Washington?
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dykes?
Yes.
President Hogg?
Yes. Item C is our consent agenda. This ranges from minutes, bill listings, and PO requisitions. One thing that I do want to point out here is on the consent agenda, item number 5. This is the PO requisition. For our municipal workers' compensation fund at $429,970. As the lone survivor of the elected group of 2016. I just want to point out to the rest of the council so you have an understanding. When I first came on to the council in 2016, that number for our workers' compensation fund was well over, I think, around $850,000. So this is about half of the cost of where we are. We have more employees than what we did, so the cost should technically go up because of it's based on payroll. However, we have implemented so many things over the last few years to mitigate issues in terms of workers-related injuries. We also did the 1 day a week garbage service and trash with the unified garbage carts that saved a lot of back claims as well. There's been lots of things that's gone on that this council has done and the previous council did as well, and that has saved us to the tune of about $425,000 based on 2016 numbers of what the dollar value were back then. So I just wanted to point that out because that's a huge difference that you might not understand if you're just basically looking at this. But very, very glad to see this, and it just shows our staff is making sure that everyone's being as careful as possible. So With that being said, I will move to approve the consent agenda as printed, and that's in the form of a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Hinton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Councilwoman Bobo?
Yes.
Councilman Washington?
Yes.
Pro Tem Hinton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dykes?
Yes.
President Hogg?
Yes. Item 9 is reports of special committees of council. If anyone has anything they'd like to add. Item 10 is public hearings. We have none. Item 11, city administrator's business.
None for this evening.
Okay. Item 12 is departmental business. We have none. Item 13 is mayor and council members' business. We'll start with the Honorable Mayor Herndon.
Thank you. This morning I had the opportunity to swear in a new police officer, Officer Serena Green. Officer Green comes to us from the Demopolis Police Department, 6 years experience. And the reason I'm bringing this up, with all the rash of bad things going on with our law enforcement agencies across the country, I want you to always remember our law enforcement people in your prayers, that they'll come home safely to their families every day. I appreciate their willingness to serve the great city of Northport, and please always keep our law enforcement officers in your prayers. Thursday, Ms. Webb, Tubbs, and myself will be meeting with the state highway director here at the City Hall. We've got several questions we will be asking him about transportation needs in Northport. It's been, I guess, 10 years since I last had him in my office to be able to talk to him. And so we're going to be talking to Director Cooper. Pretty straightforward, trying to get information that we can relay to our citizens, and any kind of definite plans, any kind of pipe dreams, anything that the state's got to help alleviate traffic problems in the city of Northport. Anyway, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor. District 1, Councilwoman Bobo.
I have no new business.
Okay. District 2, Councilman Washington.
No, sir, I have none.
District 3, Pro Tem Hinton.
None.
District 4, Councilwoman Dykes.
None, thank you.
And under mine, I would like to get out of here and have a restroom break. So with that being said, we will have an adjournment. I will make the motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
That's second by Councilwoman Bobo. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.